Podcast Network Asia.
Hi, this is Alec Cuenca, and you're listening to Small Talk. Hey guys, welcome back to Small Talk, small conversations with huge impact. And before we actually start with this episode, I just want to thank each and every one of you who are listening to the podcast. Maraming salamat. If this is your first time, then I hope you enjoy this, and I hope you go check out the other episodes as well. If you are an avid listener of the podcast, then welcome back. I hope you enjoy this episode, because this episode, I can feel it. This is going to be an amazing episode, because in this episode, we have a guest. Our guest for today is a civil engineer who decided to quit the corporate world back in 2003 to pursue entrepreneurship. He is a blogger, and his blog, Ready to Be Rich, has won several awards, including the Best Business and Finance Blog at the Philippine Blog Awards. Our guest has also been recognized by Money Sense magazine as among the top 12 most influential people in personal finance in the Philippines. He is a registered financial planner and a resource speaker for corporate and socio-civic organizations in the country. He is also a content creator and the host of the show, the 80% Podcast. Let's all welcome Mr. Fitz Villafuerte. Welcome to the show, Mr. Fitz.
Hello, Alec. Hi, kamusta?
Okay naman po. Well, I'm really excited to have you here on the podcast. I was really hoping to get everyone from PNA, and you were on the top of my list because I was always able to see you from the Podcast PH group. You're very active there, so I'm really excited right now.
Wow, salamat din. Thank you for inviting me, and of course, hello sa lahat ng mga listeners ng Small Talk, and I'm really excited to share kung ano man yung mga pwede kong ma-share sa mga listeners mo na makakatulong sa kanila.
Well, I'm sure marami ka pong ma-share na lessons and insights to our listeners right now. And so I just let's go start ahead. I want to know, because when I watched some of your videos, you were discussing about your background, where you first started. Actually, saw a video that you did. You guested in a local podcast, a starting podcasting, the Richard Bautista Show, and I learned that you were a civil engineer before. So I want to know, how did, because I feel like we are, kasi po ako, engineer din po ako, and I'm about to graduate engineering, and I feel like being an engineer is part of what was expected from us. It was the plan, right? So what shifted you from being or working in the corporate world as an engineer to this entrepreneur, personal finance blogger? Where did your journey in entrepreneurship start?
Well, I would say na it's a long journey, and I'm often asked kung ano nga ba yung ginawa ko. And that's also one of the reasons why I created my blog. Kasi marami nagtatanong sa akin how I shifted from being an employee to being an entrepreneur. And what I always say is, hindi yun pinlano. It wasn't planned. Back in college, I was really excited to work as an engineer. And I guess it was really the feeling of being financially independent yung isa sa mga naging drivers ko. Because when I was working in the corporate world, I realized na, well, siguro in the field of engineering particularly, na medyo matagal yung progress, simply because sa engineering industry, medyo mataas yung seniority, kasi alam mo, you have to accumulate a lot of projects before you can gain the network and the experience to put up your own engineering firm and all of those. So I guess personally speaking, parang mabagal para sa akin. Parang ayoko naman nung I will spend 10, 15 years in the corporate world before I can have the credentials to put up my own firm. So ang ginawa ko noon was I started looking for other options for me. And the thing is, during college, actually, I was already interested in computer science and programming. So I told myself maybe I could explore IT and computer science. So nag freelance systems developer ako noon, under also under advice also with a friend of mine who said na ito sa IT industry kasi yun yung parang booming na career during that time. Mataas ang sweldo. And definitely one of my plan was to work abroad kasi yung friend ko na yon based siya sa Singapore, and he told me na dito ang tataas ang sweldo ng mga IT. So pwede kang mag-shift ng career and you can work here as an IT. Which is true kasi yung sweldo niya parang times 3 na nung sweldo ko as an engineer, to think na I was working with a big company na rin doon. And relatively, compared to my peers, my batchmates, mataas na yung sweldo ko. So I was really excited to go on that path. But of course, again, you need experience. So I became a freelancer so that I can gain the experience and eventually apply for a job abroad. However, it came to a point na na-realize ko or na-notice ko na yung kinikita ko as a freelancer already became as high as my corporate job. So, naisip ko, yung parakit-rakit ko na pagiging freelancer, pagiging software systems developer ko on the side, yung mga projects na nakuha ko nun, halos actually kasing taas na siya nung day job ko. And what more, kung mag-resign ako sa work and then I do this full-time. So when I was able to close a around 9-month deal, a 9-month project, IT project, I decided na siguro ito na yung sign for me to resign from my work and do full-time freelancing, which was a relief for me because honestly, I think I was not a good employee because ang dalas ko makakuha ng late memo. Hindi talaga ako morning person. Hindi talaga ako morning person, I don't know. So, para sa akin, it was a relief. And true enough, I realized na I'm not a morning person because I found myself working usually in the afternoon all through the evening dun sa mga software development projects ko. However, it came to a point also na na-miss ko yung regular salary because as a freelancer, syempre, hindi regular yung pagpasok ng pera sa'yo. And since nakita ko na ayoko na maging employee, but I want a regular salary, the natural progression is to put up a business. Kasi kung meron kang negosyo, meron kang monthly siguro na dividends or monthly profits from your business, but at the same time, you still have that control over your time as an entrepreneur. So, that's when I realized na yung naiipon ko as a freelancer, I should not just spend it or save it, but also plan for a business that I can put up so that I can have that sense of security of having a monthly income. So, yun, after almost a year, I put up my first business. And since a lot of people say na dapat tong business mo, it's along your interest or passion. And at that moment, I was already in the IT industry. I put up a computer shop kasi mahilig din ako sa video games eh. And also, during that time, matitrace na nila kung anong taon to siguro. Ang uso noon na sa computers is yung mga counteran.
Saka Dota.
Oo. Sobrang lakas pa. Actually, very lucky ako because I came into that moment na sikat yung Counter-Strike, but computer games was shifting towards online. So, nagsimula na yung Ragnarok noon and Dota. So, that was the period where I put up my first business, which was a computer shop. And I had my computer shop running at tapos dun sa likod, I have my small office where I still do my freelancing work. So basically, that was my journey towards entrepreneurship. And eventually, I observed na yung kinikita ko sa business was also almost the same as my freelancing work. So again, in a way, parang ano pa rin yung pera ay yung medyo nagiging trigger ko. And sabi ko, mas malaki yung kinikita ko sa business. Ito sa business, it runs on its own because I already have 3 staff who runs the business. So ako lang nagmamanage ako. And then I told myself, what if mas mag-focus ako sa pagpapalago ng business and I take in less and less freelance work. So probably I will have more time, more free time, but also I can earn more money. So eventually that's what I did. I quit. Well, hindi naman. I not quit, but I tried to really pick kung ano yung mga freelance work na tatanggapin ko. So I stopped looking for projects and sinabihan ko nila yung mga freelancer friends ko na if you have like a project that you want to outsource some of the modules, then just give it to me. So ganun na lang yung ginawa ko. And I focused full time dun sa pagpapalago ng computer shop ko. So eventually, I was able to put up a business center kasi yung katabi nung counteran ko, nung dotahan ko, was a dentist clinic. Tapos yung dentista, nag-migrate na. So kinlose na yung clinic niya. And yun, sinabihan ko yung landlady ko na kukunin ko na rin yung katabi kong space and I turned it into a business center. So, kasi maraming estudyante. Yung mga estudyante na malapit dun sa area ko, doon na sila nagko-computers sa shop ko. And of course, syempre, pag gaming, madilim. And I also wanted to target yung mga students na nag-aaral, masipag. So, nandun sila sa computer shop, sa business center pumupunta pag kailangan nila magpa-print ng mga reports nila and all of those stuff. So, yes, I guess that's the short version of it, yung journey ko from being an employee and an entrepreneur. What I always say is that it was not really planned. Para sa akin, it was really looking at my present situation and thinking what is the best option available for me now. And yun nga, eventually, that's where I ended up with sa pagiging entrepreneur.
So that's an amazing story. I think a lot of people who shifted from an 8 to 5 job to business, I think they went through the similar story. But I want to get more. Can you tell us more a little bit about that jump? Kasi from doing 8 to 5 to freelancing, then to freelancing to starting your own business. I'm sure that in between those phases, I feel like there's a certain fear na, will this work? Am I sure? Baka naman pag lumipat ako dito, lilipat ulit ako. Yung mga ganong klaseng tanong. Can you tell us a little bit more about your mindset when you were transitioning from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3?
Okay. So definitely, there was fear and doubt and worry. However, sa akin, mas malakas yung desire to make a change with my life. And also, that's one of the main reasons kung bakit hindi ako nag-resign sa work ko kagad. And nag-freelance, IT or systems developer lang ako during weekends or on the side. Ang talagang pinaka-worry ko noon was if I can be good enough to become a full-time freelancer. Not really if I would fail Kasi there was a point that I decided that I think the corporate world is not really for me. And I think my personality fits someone who is more of a freelancer or someone who doesn't have a 9 to 5 job. So, parang nung nabuo yung mindset ko na hindi ako fit for being an employee, that's when I really look for possible options na pwede kong gawin. In fact, I also parang tried to be an interior designer, something. Kasi I have a friend who has an interior designing firm. And it's somehow related to being a civil engineer, which was my college degree. And naisip ko, kasi yung ID firm niya, interior designing firm niya, kailangan din niya ng mga someone who can check on the ano ba, soundness of the structures na ini-install niya do sa mga spaces. So sabi niya sa akin, you can also do this part-time as a freelancer. So in short, I explored a lot of options, pero at the same time, hindi ko pinapakawalan yung pagiging employee ko. Kasi nga, syempre, at as early as that time, I realized na it would be hard to move around if I am constantly thinking of my finances. So I guess that was one of the things that really helped me, knowing how big the role is of personal finance when it comes to executing our plan. So ano bang gagawin ko sa buhay ko? Minsan mas marami kang options kung yung personal finance aspect of your life is well taken care of. And in fact, that is also the time when I learned how to save, how to budget, etc. So may advice lang talaga sa akin noon eh. Sabi nung isa kong friend na talagang when he graduated college, nag-freelancer na talaga siya kagad. Ang sabi niya, if you want to transition from being an employee to a freelancer, just make sure na kayang ibigay ng pagiging freelancer mo yung income na nare-receive mo as an employee. So, the only way to do that is to track it. And I guess when it comes to the fear and worry and anxiety, I would say na I was more focused on reaching that goal na maging equal yung freelancing income ko sa employee salary ko. So, I would say that helped a lot kasi as I always tell people, walang benefit yung pag-worry ng matagal. So, if you're worried or afraid of something, it's always important to be aware but do not linger on that feeling or on that thought. And that's what really helped me. And I guess from being a freelancer to putting up my first business, it was also the same. I had the security of being a freelancer na I have several projects lined up. So I know my finances is okay, will be taken care of for the next at least 6 months. And I had I guess, again, I had the opportunity to put up my own business and not worry about where I will get the money to buy food tomorrow kasi mas nakafocus ako ngayon in developing my business. I mean, studying na paano ba mag-put up ng computer shop, ano ba yung paparegister ko, paano ba kumuha ng license, etc. Bibili ba ako ng pirated na CDs or bibili ako ng license sa CDs? Those are the considerations that I had. And of course, if you want your business to be legit, di ba? You have to buy a license and hindi murang Windows OEM noon, di ba? Per computer yan, hindi ka naman pwede bumili na. It was so tempting to buy a 300 peso pirated Windows CD and install it in all your computers. But that's also one of the things that I learned na if you want to do something, you need to do it right because eventually later on, alam mo yun, the wrong things that you did will eventually come back to you. And knowing how much I really need to put up this business, I guess that is what also helped me to focus when it comes to going through my everyday and planning my weekly task during that time. Of course, every now and then, there will be moments of self-doubt and worry na kaya ko ba to? But I guess it really helped me to have something to focus on. And at that moment, it was now reaching that specific number that I need to be able to put up that business. And of course, nung tayo ko na yung computer shop ko, everything was really busy na I would say I didn't have time to worry about these things. So I guess that's also a good thing. But it was all fun. It was really a challenging time, a challenging period of my life, but it was also one of the, I would say, one of the most beautiful periods of my life where I was learning a lot, not just about myself, but ayun, no, about being able to transition from being an employee or from being someone that I guess my parents expected of me, to which is to be an engineer, to going out on my own and being the person that I think I can be, which is an entrepreneur.
That's a really beautiful story, Mr. Fitz. I'm sure that our listeners right now would not only be inspired, but would be handled with the reality of shifting from working then to being a freelancer and to having a business. So before I ask you more questions, I just want to invite all our listeners to check out the other shows from Podcast Network Asia, and here is one show from that network.
Importante ang mag-save, pero bakit marami ang walang ipon? The answer is because we don't spend enough time in learning practical financial strategies. This is Fitz Villafuerte, a registered financial planner, and I'm inviting you to listen to the 80% podcast, kung saan tuturuan ko kayo kung paano yumaman. So join me and let's talk about personal finance on the 80% podcast.
Okay, so let's get back with the topic. I actually have a lot of questions from your story. It's an amazing story. It's a really beautiful story. But one thing that I would like to know more about is that a lot of people, when they hear stories like your story, they think that entrepreneur is this really cool thing to do. When they see people on Instagram, yung mga bio, CEO, entrepreneur, di ba? Sobrang glamorous nung dating pag-entrepreneur. But I feel like there's this side that a lot of people don't actually see in entrepreneur. Can you give us what's the reality? And is there any difference from the entrepreneurship that Instagram or social media portray to what real entrepreneurship does?
Well, may mga nagtatanong sa akin kung paano ba mag-start ng business. And one of the things that I ask them is, why do you want to put up a business? And they say na ayaw na daw nila mag-work, na nahihirapan na daw sila magtrabaho. And I tell them, that's actually not a good reason to quit your job and start a business, because starting a business, being an entrepreneur, is much, much harder. Sa trabaho, you only work from 9 to 5. Pero as an entrepreneur, you're working 24/7, because every entrepreneur I've met, they would always tell me that it's so hard to turn off their brain and not think about their business. Kasi yun talaga yung iniisip nila constantly. And there was actually an article that I read na there's the psychological price of being an entrepreneur, na parang society has portrayed, as you've said, entrepreneurs as this cool person who got it, who has everything set and earning a lot of money. But behind the scene, I would say na number one, it's sort of a lonely job, because especially if you have a business idea, if you have a unique business idea, it's your job to convince other people to believe in it. So, minsan, ang pinaka-harshest critic mo would be yung mga pinaka-close sa'yo eh. And when I told my dad that I would put up my own business, yun, siya talaga yung unang nagsabi sa akin na, are you sure about that? Can you do that? You didn't even take a business course in college. How can you do this, no? And understandably, because they are worried about us. But as an entrepreneur, I guess that's the first challenge that you need to overcome. Yung believing in what you want to achieve, so that you can convince other people and make them believe in your vision as well. Ang iniisip kasi ng mga ibang tao, pag successful entrepreneur, the business idea came to them one day and then everything went smoothly. But no, a lot of successful entrepreneurs, yung business ideas nila, sobrang daming criticism na dinaanan yan. And I guess that's what's needed for it to be polished, yung isang business idea. So, kung medyo mahina yung loob mo, I would say na it would be a very difficult challenge for you to become an entrepreneur. They say that a lot of entrepreneurs medyo outgoing, medyo madaldal, they speak their mind. But I guess that comes with the territory, something that you learn along the way because minsan kailangan mong ipaglaban yung business idea mo and kailangan mong ilaban yung gusto mong gawin for you to be able to achieve the results that you're looking for. So, para sa akin, when I hear about yung mga success stories of other entrepreneurs, I actually love listening and reading and watching these stories as well because it gives me inspiration. And although a lot of people get the impression na it's something na napaka-glamorous and all, para sa akin, I still watch them because I know how it feels to achieve or be successful at something na pinaghirapan mo. So, I guess that's the thing that I want, I guess, other people to realize na it may look cool. Nakikita nila sa Instagram itong mga entrepreneurs having this parang luxurious lifestyle, may mga magagandang kotse, magandang damit, etc. But of course, that's the end product that you see. Hindi mo nakita yung process. So always always remember that there was a journey before they arrived at that destination. And that image that they see, use it as an inspiration, but never lose the fact na you have to go through a lot of obstacles, I would say, personal and social challenges, I would say, that you need to overcome to be able to reach that stage in your life as an entrepreneur. So, yeah, ibang-iba yung nakikita natin kasi that's the, I would say, parang skin, lang siya yung pinakaibabaw lang na level. So, there's really a lot of reality behind the curtain, I would say, no? So, yun.
Now, my next question, Sir Fitz, is because I'm a big fan of habits. As you've said from your previous answer, it's hard, right? Compared to what other people are seeing from the Instagram and all that stuff, it's actually hard. And I want to know, because I'm a big fan of habits, I want to know your daily habits as an entrepreneur. And do you see some habits as well from your fellow entrepreneur? And what does your typical day look like?
Well, of course, when it comes to my routine sa work, iba-iba siya every day and that's what I love about it. Pero I really have my constants. So, tatlo yan para sa akin. Number one, when I wake up in the morning, I do at least 10 minutes meditation. Para sa akin, yun yung physically, we stretch our body when we wake up kasi ang sarap ng feeling. For me, I do the morning meditation para jumpstart din yung utak ko, yung brain ko. So that's my first constant. Number two, I always try to have at least 30 minutes of physical activity every day. I guess that's also something na I learned when I was working. Kasi sabi sa akin nung isa kong friend na physical or fitness instructor, expect ko daw natataba ako pag nagtrabaho na ako kasi I will always be in the office. So make sure that you have some physical activity. And I guess the habit stuck sa akin na at least during in the afternoon, mga around 4 or 5, yung I have this craving to at least walk around, do some brisk walking, and do some exercise or whatever. Just move So that's my second thing. I will always make time for at least 30 minutes of physical activity, not necessarily high impact exercise. I just need to move around, walk. And
Mhm.
lastly, something that I also not forget, no, is before I end the day, I write in a journal. I have a gratitude journal. I've been writing this for at least, I guess, 8 years, 8 or 7 years already. Matagal na. And actually, yun yung gamit ko sa Starbucks planner ko. A lot of people are surprised na parang ang dami ko daw pag pupunta sila sa bahay, my friends, they tell me na ang dami ko daw na Starbucks planner na ang dami nakasulat. So sabi nila, siguro kaya ang ayos-ayos ng buhay mo, sabi nila. But I tell them na in reality, yung mga nakasulat dyan sa Starbucks planner ko are the things that I am grateful for. So it's a gratitude journal more than a planner. And I guess that's something that has really helped me. Hindi apparent yung benefits, but I can feel na it's a great way to end the day, to think about what happened today, what are the things that made me smile, what are the things that I am grateful for. And it's just a great way to end the day, and it really helps you ease into that moment of rest and sleep. So yun, those are my three constants, no? Yung meditation, a little bit of physical activity, and journaling. And for everyday, iba-iba eh. There are times na I work on something, I work on a specific business. There are times na I'm feeling lazy, I just watch Netflix all day. May mga ganun ako. But those things, those habits of mine, I've been doing that, all those three things, I guess, for more than 4 or 5 years already. The last habit that I learned was the physical activity, to be honest. But the oldest habit is the journaling. Yun.
No, I think those three. I'm really surprised. Not that I'm not expecting, but those three are probably like in the self help industry. Those three are probably like the top three things that you need to do to improve your life per se. And your first one is meditation, which allows people to just clear their minds and just learn to be mindful of the current day. Give themselves a little bit of headspace before they actually start their day, and a little exercise, of course. Alam naman natin it's really beneficial not only for the physical health but also for the emotional and the mental toughness for yourself. And lastly, yung gratitude journal. That's really an amazing answer because I want to do that pero hindi ko pa siya ma-incorporate sa habit ko na talagang magsulat gabi-gabi. Sa morning nagsusulat ako, I visualize things out, pero sa gabi, I don't get that habit of writing in a journal. And kaya I'm really happy to learn about na people who are in the entrepreneurship, who are in the business side of things, actually do these things para sa kanilang for I mean, indirect na self-help and self-priority muna. And so, thank you for that answer. What I want to talk about next is since nabanggit mo na yung planner, and actually that's one of my favorite blog posts that I've read from you is that yung sa Starbucks planner. And well, what I loved about that is compared to a lot of financial paano ba to? Because I can see from the different people who are talking about personal finance in social media, they're so like strict with these kind of stuff. And as you said from that blog, maglalabasan na yung mga posts na may planner ka nga, wala ka namang plano, mag-ipon ka na lang, mga ganyan, di ba? And so what I loved about your blog post was that it's real, but you didn't try to like force it in other people's mouth, and you show their psychological facts and you just let them decide kung okay ba yun sa kanila o hindi. So now I have a lot of questions, pero I'll start with where do you get your ideas for your blog posts?
Well, someone also asked me kasi I started my blog 2007, and they told me na parang how do I not run out of ideas, plus the fact that I also have other social media channels where I put out financial content. And what I've learned actually when I was studying how to blog was the best content is your own story. So I always go back to the lessons that I've learned in my life. And of course, up until now, there are new things that I've been learning. So yun lang, sinishare ko lang yung mga natutunan ko. I look back at the stories that I've experienced in the past and try to see how can I use this to teach a financial concept. And yung pagjo-journal ko, it helped kasi minsan when I'm running out of ideas, sabi ko, let me just read a random entry in my journal and alam mo yun, try to remember how it was during that time. And more often than not, a content idea will come to me, and that's where I go forward, no?
As you said, you also have these ideas for your different content creation. Now, I saw from your Instagram post that you also post videos on TikTok about
Yes.
financial stuff, right? So, when did you start posting on TikTok? Was that a recent thing, or have you been doing it for a while now?
Well, I used to have a TikTok account na very active, but it's just a stress reliever. But during this pandemic, I guess it was around August, yan. I decided to let me rebrand my TikTok account. Let me put in my real name so that people will know it's me. And yun, put out personal finance videos there. If I will be honest, one of the reasons for me to do that is napansin ko the TikTok format, it's slowly gaining popularity across other social media channels. For example, sa Kumu, di ba? Kumu has the Kumu clips. Instagram and Facebook is also coming out with similar features. Yung 60 seconds na video na
Reels,
parang
parang Reels
Reels,
ata yung
yes.
tawag nila dun eh.
Sa Instagram, di ba?
Ah.
Instagram Reels. So, sabi ko, if people are consuming this type of content, then I might as well also learn how to create this type of content. And siyempre, what better place to learn that than sa TikTok, where I guess the most popular platform for that format, no? So yun. And okay naman, fortunately, people are accepting sa type of content ko sa TikTok, because before I had the impression that TikTok is really for entertainment. People are, alam mo yun, dancing, singing, having fun there. But there are also people who are interested in learning. So that's what I love about TikTok. And recently, I guess I already have the live stream feature. So I'm excited to do that on TikTok, do some live streams, because I've been doing live streaming on YouTube and on Facebook, my Facebook page as well. So I'm excited to do that on TikTok. And yun, live streaming was something that I learned from Kumu naman. I've been active on Kumu for more than 2 years already. And that's also something that I tell people, na wag tayong matakot mag-try ng mga bago. Sometimes we don't know how things will connect. So when my friend told me about Kumu back in 2018, I was a bit hesitant kasi hindi naman ako outgoing person. I mean, hindi makapal ang mukha ako sa camera. I know that I am a blogger, so I am able to express my thoughts better through writing. But live streaming, mas candid siya. So I was hesitant, but again, sige, try na natin, wala namang mawawala. So the techniques that I learned sa live streaming on Kumu 2 years ago were the skills that I used pagdating sa YouTube and sa Facebook, where I now do regular live streaming. And I guess it will be the same skills that I will bring to TikTok when I do live streaming. And again, the things that I've learned sa TikTok in creating yung mga short video content, mga 15 to 60 second content, is something that I can bring to other platforms as well. So, yun, no? I guess, madaldal ako, number one. Kaya pala matagal na rin yung vlog ko. I guess that's also one of the things that has helped me to survive through these years sa pagbablog. So, medyo madaldal ako. Marami akong kwento. But yeah, just have a growth mindset. I guess that's what I'm trying to say here, no? Having a growth mindset will really help you seize a lot of opportunities in your life.
Yeah. You may not know this, but the podcast actually, the show, it actually blew up on TikTok because I used the TikTok platform as my practice ground in creating. I said, I need to speak better. I need to be able to produce my thoughts into words, and I can actually say it in a 1-minute video nonstop without stuttering, diba? So I tried, creating one minute videos, and it blew up. And I was really excited because I thought the same thing, that TikTok is for singing and dancing, lip syncing, and funny videos. But when I tried it, there were so many people that wanted to learn things, not just about essentially about anything, whether it's grammar, mental health, personal finance. But I felt like that was the one thing that we were missing in TikTok. We don't have that much people talking about personal finance or entrepreneurship and business. We have like 2-3 people, and people are going there. But I feel like we need more people to share these knowledge and these insights. So that's why I was really happy to see that you were also on TikTok. So I said, I'm gonna check you out and all that stuff. But as you were saying, sobrang na parehas tayong madaldal. So we have all of these, and parehas tayong gusto mag-try. So sobrang daming platform talaga na we create content. The Kumu, Facebook, the live stream. My question is, what's your favorite platform and why?
That's hard to answer because I guess right now I am enjoying TikTok, but of course kasi bago pa lang ako doon. I would say my favorite would be Facebook, primarily because that's my oldest channel, and that's where my blog grew naman, no, sa Facebook talaga. And although of course ang audience natin would change, I would say, no, a lot of my target audience are moving to other platforms as well. I guess it's the nature of Facebook na minsan medyo nagiging toxic minsan ang Facebook. So people are spending more time on Twitter, on Instagram, and now on TikTok. So but I will always go back to Facebook, I guess, when it comes to social media channels. But of course, ang bahay natin, quote unquote, would be my blog. So, and I will always put out my best content on my blog because I am also a writer, first and foremost, no. Gusto ko yung sinabi mo na mahilig tayo parehong mag-try, and one of the reasons why you went to TikTok was to learn how to speak better. Kasi yun yung ginawa ko naman sa Kumu. Alam mo yung maghahanap tayo ng channel na wala masyadong tao, hindi tayo masyadong kilala. Doon tayo mag-practice. So ako, sa Kumu ako nag-practice. And yeah, ngayon sa TikTok, of course, the short content that we create on TikTok, yung pagsasalita natin for 60 seconds, it's a practice na I have to memorize lahat ng kailangan kong sabihin, kailangan hindi ako mag-stutter, ganyan. So, which is, I know it's, para sa akin it's been really, really helpful, especially that everything is online right now, no? A lot of my speaking engagements dati is now happening online. So, it has really helped me, not just yung pagsasalita, but yung mindset na dati kasi pag nagtotalk ako, syempre I see my audience, I see the reactions on their faces, so I am able to engage with them better. Pero ngayon, sa webcam lens ako nakatingin, di ba? So I guess it's a different skill, but yun, no, by practicing on TikTok, I would say mas na-enhance ko yung skill na yon of how I can be more engaging with the people who are listening to me. Yon.
Okay, so I want to ask, because I know that maybe a lot of listeners out there, maybe they're starting their own business, they're creating their own brand, but they are afraid to try out these platforms with all the yung mga anong tawag na dito, mga prejudice nila with these platforms. What advice would you give to people to eradicate their fear of trying it out and just, do it?
Well, I would say na reserve your judgment until you try it. And I would say na always think about the worst case scenario. What would happen if you try this? Ano yung worst case scenario? Most of the time, the worst case scenario is you just wasted time, which I think is not really time wasted because you learned something out of it. And a friend of mine was putting out yung bagong business niya, a food business, and ang default niya was to sell on Facebook. So sabi ko, why don't you try other channels? Because siyempre, medyo maingay na sa Facebook. And I told her na try to sell on Kumu. Unconventional, but also create your social media platforms first, yung presence mo sa Instagram, sa Twitter, and then try to see if you can sell on Kumu. And from what I've heard, okay naman, nakakakuha daw siya ng customers on Kumu. And it was really something that sabi ko sa kanya, what's the worst that could happen? Walang manunod sa'yo, walang umorder sa'yo. Okay lang. At least you learned how to present your product to people, di ba? Through a live stream. Kasi ang nakikita natin sa Facebook na nagpi-Facebook Live, usually nagtitinda ng mga damit, di ba? Mga fashion stuff. So sabi ko, you can actually also do that but try to sell your food. Pero syempre, wag ka muna sumabak dyan. Practice ka muna sa kung ng live stream mo, di ba? Try to see. So, yeah, answering your question, there's no harm in trying, and you'll never know how it is until you try. Think about the worst case scenario. I always tell people, if the worst case scenario is losing money and losing time, then I guess it's worth the risk. Kasi the only risk that I will not take is losing my reputation, compromising my values, no? Those are the risks that I will never take. But if the worst case scenario is simply malugi ka, maubos yung masayang yung oras mo, go ahead, okay lang, try, because yung mga failures na yon, you don't come out empty-handed. You always come out with a lesson that will help you become a better person when you try again.
I love that concept about the worst case scenario. It actually gave me like a pretty amazing perspective because, for example, the worst case scenario when you don't try is still worse when you try it out. Diba? So there is still worse when you don't try. There's a lot of things going to be better if you just try. So before we actually talk about more other stuff, I would like to invite more of our listeners to please go ahead and check out the other podcasts on Podcast Network Asia, like this one.
Hi there, my name is Laika Maravilla. Has anyone ever called you a try-hard? Is trying hard a bad thing or a good thing? Let's talk about that in the Trying Hard with Laika Maravilla podcast, brought to you by Podcast Network Asia and Podmetrics.
Hi, sir. Let's head on to one of the last chapters or the last things that I want to talk about is since you've been talking about what's the worst case scenario, right? I want to talk about your failures in general. Can you describe us a day where you experienced failure and how are you able to handle it?
Well, one of the areas in my life where I experienced a lot of failure was also in putting up businesses. Currently, I have around 4 businesses. Pero yung 4 businesses na yon, those are a result of more than 10 businesses that failed. So, sa akin, yeah, I would say if you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to make peace on the fact that you will fail and you will fail a lot of times. And don't see failure as a point where you should stop. Actually, failure is just one of the steps that you need to go through to be able to reach the success that you're looking for. And it's always heartbreaking when you have to close a business because it's not making money. And what I've learned is that it motivated me to do better next time. So it's always better na saan ako nagkamali, what was the shortcomings that I did so that I can avoid doing that again in the future. Pagdating sa business kasi, it's not just you. Ang para sa akin mas heartbreaking yung you have to let go of your staff. You have to tell them that they're going to lose their jobs. Sa akin mas heartbreaking 'yon. In fact, there was one business of mine na I I continued running the business kahit na hindi siya nagpo-profit because I didn't want my staff to lose their salary. So parang okay lang na break even siya basta may trabaho yung staff ko kasi yung staff ko na yun matagal na siya sa akin. And yun, those failures are things that I always come back to whenever I'm feeling down because those failures are also proof that nothing really lasts. So yung mga moments of failure, mga moments of defeat natin, although it is sad, they don't last long, and eventually you'll be able to pick yourself up and hopefully have the motivation and inspiration to do it again. Para sa akin yun yung in fact those are the most heartbreaking moments that I've experienced in my life. Yung whenever I have to close a business and tell my people that this is our last month of operation. Sobrang sobrang nakakalungkot talaga. And that's also what I want people who wants to put up their business, parang get ready, prepare yourself for that because that will be something na you will have to face sooner or later when you put up a business. No, yung handling failure, and yung failure kasi pag sa sarili mo minsan kaya mo pa, pero yung seeing it in the face of your employees na our business is not doing well and I have to let you go. May mukha na yung may face na yung failure mo. So mas nakaka-guilty times 10 yung guilt mo na hindi mo ginalingan. But yeah, you don't berate yourself too much on that because there will be another chance. And in fact, when I put up another business, ang una ko tinatawagan yung mga staff ko dati. Parang, may trabaho ka na ba? Gusto mo ulit? Gusto mo ulit mag-try sa akin? Yun. And I would say siguro 3 out of 5 of my staff, they come back to me kasi I treat them well. I treat them actually as partners sa business because yun. So, I guess that's what I wanted to say about failure. Be comfortable with failing. It's not the end. It's just one of the steps along the way to success, I would say.
I love also the part about your previous employees coming back to you. Like, I think that's something you can't buy, yung loyalty ng mga tao sa'yo, especially when you treat them right, when you treat them as families, as partners. And that's also one thing that I think people could integrate into their business. They treat their employees as their family and as their partners. And as you've said, Sir Fitz, you've been trying and trying and trying, diba? Pagdating sa business, sa freelance, and shifting from all of that stuff. Can you say that you found an aha moment na sinabi mo na, eto na yon? Or do you keep on trying new stuff, innovating? Parang, can you say that you have found your passion? Something like that? Yeah.
Well, I've always believed that we are meant to live different lifetimes. What I mean is, sa bawat stage ng buhay natin, we have a specific passion that will give us the motivation and the inspiration to wake up in the morning. And admittedly, when I was in college, my passion was really engineering. I was really excited to be an engineer. Even when I became a freelance IT developer, I believe that it was my passion. And talagang nag-self-study ako noon nung programming. Nag-self-study ako ng Visual Basic and SQL, even if I didn't have background, di ba? So the mere fact that I was able to learn a programming language and actually work as a freelancer, I would say that's one proof that I was really passionate about that. And all through my life, I wore a lot of hats. So right now, I am a personal finance advocate, I would say. I am working as a registered financial planner. One of the hardest questions that I need to answer sometimes is, ano bang ginagawa mo? What do you do? Because anong gusto mong malaman? I am a registered financial planner by profession. I would say during weekends, I'm an entrepreneur. That's where I manage my business. Sometimes I'm a blogger, I'm a podcaster, I'm a digital marketer, etc. So what I'm trying to say is, do not believe that you need to find one passion and that's what you'll do for the rest of your life. We all have different passions at different moments of our life. For now, you can be a podcaster. You can be an online influencer. 5 years from now, 5 years in the future, you can be a chef. Diba? 10 years from now, you could be a totally different person who is happy and working and passionate about a field that you didn't imagine that you'd be. What is important is to always be curious. I guess the only way for you to discover all these passions that you're meant to discover in your life is to never let go of that curiosity. Yeah, try different things. You'll never know. Sometimes you'll discover or stumble upon something that will, okay to. Something that will really ignite something inside of you that is so strong that you are willing to transition to another type of person, 'di ba? I know someone who is batchmate ko siya, na civil engineer din siya, and for 10 years he actually lived as he actually became a civil engineer, no? Talagang pinursue niya yung profession, but one time nagkaroon siya ng accident dun sa construction site and he needed to undergo some physical therapy. And that's how he stumbled upon yung passion niya pagdating sa physical fitness. And now, hindi na siya civil engineer. Meron na siyang sariling gym. He's already based in Canada. So, meron siyang gym sa Canada and now he's a fitness trainer there. So, alam mo yun, he didn't really expect to be in that, I would say, industry. Ask him 10 years ago, he would say, or 15 years ago, he would say na, I'm going to be an engineer all my life. This is what I love doing. But now, look at him. He's this gym buff guy who's talking about nutrition and physical fitness to us, his batchmates. No? So, yun, wag mong ikulong yung sarili mo dun sa kung ano yung passionate ka right now. Always have an open mind. Be curious because you are actually meant to live different passions and different lifetimes. No?
I love how you said that your passion evolves as you are evolving. It's like you can wear different hats in your lifetime, and you just need to have this growth mindset so that you can see this world of opportunity through a different lens, and you can go try things out. And so thank you for that wonderful question. And as much as I love to have more questions to ask you, we're gonna end the session right here, and I'm just gonna invite you to for another time so that we can talk more about investments and your passion and more on the business side of things. But I'm really grateful to have you, and I could get some bits of your mindset and your different outlooks on shifting from an 8 to 5 an 8 to 5 job to freelancing to starting your own business. But before we actually end this podcast session, I have this small segment in the show called the Real Talk, where I ask you 5 questions. It's like fast talk ni Boy Abunda, pero wholesome naman po. So don't worry. Walang sex or chocolate. I think doon na yun sa podcast ni Tito Boy. Pero this Real Talk, I'm going to ask you a question and you're going to try to answer it with either one word, one phrase, or one sentence. And that's all, no explanation. Well, I break this rule sometimes, pero that's basically the rule. No explanation.
All right.
Are you ready, Sir Fitz?
All right, sige,
Okay.
game.
Okay. First question. If you could talk to your 18-year-old self, what would you say to him?
Don't be afraid to try new things.
I love that. I love that. Okay, next question. Name a person who you would want to talk to, dead or alive.
Oh, Stephen Hawking. I've been a big fan of his, actually.
I think that's interesting. I mean, from a person, that makes sense. You're an engineering student before an engineering graduate, and yeah. The third question that I have is, if you were an animal, what would you be?
Oh, I guess I'll be a cat.
Cat.
I'm a
Okay.
cat
Usually,
person.
I break my rule in this one. Why cat?
Well, aside from the fact that I'm a cat person, I like the independence of cats. Some people say that if you want affection, get a dog. But if you want to learn how to be affectionate to other people, and get a cat, because you need to get the attention of cats. But for me, what I see there is that I like how they are so independent, no? And I guess that's something that I also aspire sa akin pagdating sa, alam mo yun, when the people around me, na I don't want to be a burden to other people. I want to be a cat who is just silently chilling in the corner of the house.
I really love this answer because this question rather because I get the best answers from this one, and it's just an amazing thing to think about. Now the fourth question: if you could change one thing in the world, what would it be?
I guess it would be this would be a bit controversial, I guess, but this would be the fanaticism of people to religion. I want more people to be, alam mo yun, less quote unquote so passionate about their faith, and try to be human and just practice kindness to one another. So yeah, that's one thing that I want to change, yung fanaticism of people to their religious beliefs, because I guess that's something that we need right now.
Yeah, I also believe in some way about that because I can feel like people who are heavy with their religion, they're more on the theoretical side. They forget to apply it. Alam mo yun, if they could spend less time, being a fanatic, they could actually be a more human being and be a better person to a lot of people. So that was amazing. That's really a nice answer. So the last question I have for you, Sir Fitz, is what do you want your legacy to be known for?
Oh, I want to be someone, I want to be remembered as someone who tried everything that, how do I say that? I want to be remembered as someone who was not afraid to try anything. I guess that's a better answer, because that's that's how I try to live my life. Na if something gets my curiosity, I will try it. And I see it with some of my friends. It rubbed off on them. na when they see something that they are curious, sometimes they tell me na, uy, susubukan ko to kasi parang feeling ko okay to. So, yung inspiration and for them to get that courage to try something that they're not really familiar with, I guess that's something that I want to rub off to other people, and what other people, I guess, would how I want other people would want to remember me, no? Someone who isn't afraid to try things, and someone that I've been able to inspire them to do the same also.
That's amazing. That's amazing, Sir Fitz. Maraming salamat po for that amazing answer. I could not thank you enough for joining me in this recording of this show. And it really means a lot to me for you to share your knowledge and insight. And I cannot wait to invite you again, maybe next year, because I know that you have a really busy plate for this November and December. But I can't wait to have you again, and let's try to talk a lot more about investment and all that stuff. But for now, I just want to say that I'm really grateful, and I thank you so much, Sir Fitz.
Now, thank you for inviting me also, and I'm looking forward to coming back again to your podcast. And yeah, next year let's do a summer edition. Summer edition.
Yeah.
But of course, I'd like to say advance Merry Christmas to your
Oh,
listeners. Yeah. So it's really a tough year for all of us, but just I'm just glad that you've made it, I would say, because they're listening to your show. So at some way, your life is okay. So to you who is listening right now. So yeah, thank you for allowing me to share my thoughts here. And I'm looking forward to coming back here again, Alec.
Yes. Sir Fitz, if they want to learn more about your stuff online, where can they find you?
Okay, so as we mentioned earlier, I have a lot of channels, but the best place to go is to my portal, which is at readytoberich.com. So gumawa na ako ng website where I link to my Twitter, to my Facebook, to my TikTok, to my blog, to my podcast. So they can just go to readytoberich.com and they can consume the content that they want. And of course, since they're listening to the podcast, I would like to also invite them to listen to the 80%. So the 80% podcast focuses on the behavioral finance. So we talk about personal finance, business, and investments, but in the context of what is the mindset that you need, what are the habits that you need to develop to be able to be financially successful. Because the reason why it's entitled the 80%, it comes from a quote from Dave Ramsey, which is a financial guru in the US. He says that financial success is 80% behavior and 20% head knowledge. So we can spend all our time studying about the stock market, how do investments work, what are the best investments, but that's just 20% of the formula. 80% and the bigger part of it is really learning the habits that you need to be able to invest. Diba? How will you be able to find the money to invest if you don't know how to save? And you cannot learn how to save if you don't learn the habit of saving. So what is the proper mindset for you to be able to save money, etc. So it's all about behavioral finance, which is something that not a lot of people talk about. A lot of financial advocates that I see, they talk about what is the best strategy in the stock market, diba? All the budgeting formula, the 30, 20, 50. But I try to focus more on the habits and the mindset. So, that's why it's called the 80%. Yeah, so I'd like to invite your listeners to please check out my podcast, which is, of course, both of us belongs to Podcast Network Asia.
Yes.
So, I'm happy to be with the same network as Alec and also with Tito Boy, di ba?
Yes.
So, Feeling ko ka-level natin si Tito Boy kasi kasama natin siya sa network.
But please, guys, go check out the 80%. I love that podcast basically because it's not just your regular business or finance podcast. It's something that tells stories about real people, about how they really behave in life. So please go check it out. It's available on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts as well. It's the 80% by Fitz Villafuerte. Go listen to it. So again, thank you so much for everyone who is listening to the podcast. If you like this episode, please go ahead and tag me and share your insights and tag me at Small Talk Podcast and tag Mr. Fitz as well. And so we can share them and read your insights. Again, thank you so much. This is Alec Cuenca. This is Small Talk, small conversations with huge impact. And I'll talk to you guys next episode. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to Small Talk. For more updates, you can follow me at Small Talk Podcast on Instagram and on TikTok. That's at Small Talk Podcast on Instagram and on TikTok.
The views and opinions expressed by the podcast creators, hosts, and guests do not necessarily reflect the official policy and position of Podcast Network Asia. Any content provided by the people on the podcast are of their own opinion and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone or anything.